Hello everyone, today I'm on a tour of the capital of Canada. It's Ottawa. I'm downtown Ottawa, and I will be doing a lot less talking today because our tour guide will be doing most of the talking as he takes us on a tour of the city. Capital City Tours takes you around the city of Ottawa for free. Yes, the tour is completely free and it is very well organized, and you won't regret it. It's a beautiful day out. It's about 24 degrees and I'm heading to the downtown area. I am hoping that they're still there because I'm running a little late now. So I'm downtown now and just heading to meet with the group. So let's go. Let's follow me along and let's see what downtown is like. Remember I said I was running late? I fell. I was trying to catch up with the group and I fell. And some wonderful people came to my aid. We started our tour at the National Arts Center. This wasn't planned, but because I fell, I had to get in there to use the washroom. Capital City Tours provides you with a tour guide. The tour guide is the guy ahead of us with the flag. So we are following him. He will be making stops along the way to tell us about the location. So we are heading to Spark Street Mall and we will be making a short stop in a few minutes and he will tell us about Spark Street Mall.
Spark Street is a National Historic Street. It is one of only two National Historic Streets in all of Canada. The other one is Great George Street in Prince Edward Island, my hometown. Anyway, Spark Street is named after Nicholas Sparks, not the same guy who wrote The Notebook. It's a different Nicholas Sparks. This guy was a farmer. Means to be Canadian is not American. Now let me describe a little bit more. So in the early 1800s, Canada was just a bunch of separate British colonies, and we were happy just being a bunch of separate British colonies. But then in the 1860s, so the Civil War happened in the United States, and they had fought in and amongst each other. And then we were scared that they were going to come up to Canada with all of their new war tactics and arms and stuff like that and invade us. So originally, the three maritime provinces of Canada, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island, decided to band together to come to one another's safety in case the states ever came to invade. Quebec and Ontario, which at that time were called Lower and Upper Canada, they heard of this little party and decided to invite themselves. Now, John A. Macdonald was our first prime minister, so he helped the country come together. He was one of our longest serving prime ministers as well. This is a monument for the Stanley Cup. This outline is supposed to look like a rink. This right here is a big puck. And then in the middle, we've got a bunch of little circles. They all have names of teams that have won the Stanley Cup in the past.
Spark Street Mall is one of the most common area for hangout. There are lots of festivals that takes place here, like the Reeves Fest, the Poutine Festival, and a whole lot more. We are now heading to the Parliament Hill. It's a short walk from the Spark Street Mall. So we are following our flagman. So let's see what Parliament is like.
So welcome to Parliament Hill. Everything that we see right now is what we include in Parliament Hill. So we've got 3 buildings. On the east, we've got East Block. In the center, we've got Center Block. And on the west, do you guys want to guess? West Block, yes. Oh my gosh, great job. So all 3 of these buildings, although they're not the most original naming, do comprise Parliament Hill. You might be wondering how Ottawa became the capital. The Queen at the time was Queen Victoria, and Queen Victoria said that it was the Grand Compromise. Ottawa was halfway between Quebec City and Toronto. It was halfway between Montreal and Kingston. It was right on the line of where the French speakers were and the English speakers. So she said it was the Grand Compromise. But the real reason that Ottawa was chosen as the capital, what they don't put in textbooks, comes back to what it means to be Canadian, which is not American. Yes, you guys got it. Ottawa was surrounded by really thick woods. It would have been extremely hard to invade Ottawa at the time that it was chosen as the capital. Additionally, you probably would have had to go through one other Canadian city, either Montreal, most likely, or Kingston to get here. So it made it very easily defensible from the States. Now, the Parliament that we're looking at today is not the original one. The original one burned down in 1916, and it has not been largely renovated or updated since that fire. So right now, actually, the whole center block, that middle portion, is all undergoing the largest restoration project ever in Canada. So it's actually closed for about a decade. They started in 2019, and they expect it will be closed until about 2030. The House of Commons is currently sitting in West Block. It's only Center Block that is closed right now. West Block got renovated beforehand. If you would like to do tours of West Block, they are free. You can either just show up or you can just Google and do a Google free tour, but those are free as well. So first off, let's look at that flag all the way up there. That Canadian flag is absolutely massive. It is 7 feet by 15 feet. They change that flag over every single day. There's a new one every day. I know, it's wild. Right on below that, we've got a large clock. That clock is extremely old. It is literally older than daylight savings time. What I mean when I say that is every year we move our clocks back 1 hour forward 1 hour based on daylight savings time. That clock literally cannot go backwards. That's how old it is. So every year on daylight savings time, we just stop and hold the clock and wait a full hour for it to catch up. And that's how. So Terry Fox started what he called the Marathon of Hope. In the Marathon of Hope, he had a dream of running from tip to tip in Canada and collecting $1 from every Canadian to raise money for cancer research. So he started all the way on the East Coast in Newfoundland in Canada. He took off his prosthetic leg and dipped it in the Atlantic Ocean with dreams of running all the way across Canada and getting to the West Coast and dipping his leg in the Pacific Ocean. He was running the equivalent of a marathon every single day, with no breaks. Every single day, he was running a marathon with one prosthetic leg. I can't imagine how painful it must have been. He made it about halfway. He got to Thunder Bay, Ontario. When his cancer came back, it ended up killing him. However, directly or indirectly, during his Marathon of Hope, Terry Fox has literally raised millions and millions and millions of dollars of cancer research funds.
We're now walking up to the Parliament Hill.
Right here we have the Centennial Flame. Some people call it the Eternal Flame. of the Rideau Canal were built to level out the level of the Ottawa River, which is over to your right, and the Rideau Canal, which is on your left. Originally, the whole plan to build the Rideau Canal was actually supposed to be over in a much flatter area of land, which we call the Breton Flats. So the whole plan for the locks was never included in building the canal. The only reason that Parliament was built here was because the government already owned this land for the canal. The way that the locks work is that the fog will fill up with water, and then the doors will open. Once the water is equal in both areas, the boat can pass through. While we're here, I want to talk about the Chateau Laurier. The Chateau Laurier was made by the Grand Trunk Railway. Sounds kind of weird, right? A railway company making a hotel. And originally, actually, the Senate, which is just over there, was a railway station. Back in the early 1900s, people didn't really do tourism the same way that they do today. So the Grand Trunk Railway came up with this idea to build a series of luxury hotels all across their railway line to give rich people a reason to ride the train. So these rich people would ride the train and stop and stay in each one of these luxurious hotels. The Grand Trunk Railway opened this hotel in April of 1912. And there was something that actually happened on this day, April 15th in 1912, which affected the opening of this hotel. Does anybody know what that was? What happened? Yes, well done. You guys are good. Yes, the Titanic sank on April 15th, 1912. So exactly today, well, technically it was overnight, so it probably would have been fully sunk by now, but Kate Winslet would maybe still on the door. I don't know. Anyway, that's a movie reference if you guys haven't seen the Titanic movie. Anyway, so yeah, the Titanic sunk, and the idea was that it was the best hotel in the world, right? So they wanted to have all the best furniture coming over from England on the best boat. So all of the furniture, which was supposed to go to the Chateau Laurier originally, is now sunk on the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean somewhere. And additionally, the president of the Grand Trunk Railway was also a passenger on the Titanic, and he died. A photographer who lived here, his name was Yusef Cash, I believe. And he photographed Winston Churchill, the English Prime Minister, during World War II when he was staying here at the Chateau Laurier. So a very famous photo taken here. They had the original photo up in the Chateau Laurier, and it was stolen, okay? And nobody even knew that it was stolen until like 6 months later. And whoever stole it replaced it with a fake. They know that it was stolen sometime between Christmas Day 2021 and January 6, 2022, but they have no idea who did it. Okay guys, welcome into the ByWard Market. ByWard Market was originally called Bytown. As far as food, you can grab some snacks. We don't really have much Canadian food though. We have poutine, which is fries with gravy and cheese curds, which I'm sure you can find there. We've also got Beaver Tails, which are like deep fried bread with toppings on them.
Excuse me, are these all handmade? Yes. Oh wow, this is so pretty. How much is this one? Huh? $9. This is very pretty. I like this. Okay. Are these? Oh, 15. Okay.
we have a short 10 minutes break to browse around. So I am taking advantage of that break to go get some beaver tails. Beavertails, yes. This is one of the places that you can, well, I think it's the only place you can get beaver tails in the market. And there are lots of flavors. I like just cinnamon and a little lemon on mine.
Hi, can I have a beaver tail, please? I'll have cinnamon. Yeah. And that's it. Okay. Thank you.
York Street is the original 4-lane highway in Ottawa. This street used to be wide enough for 2 horse and carriages to cross each other on either side. I want to bring your attention to this restaurant over here on the other side of the market building called the Moulin de Provence. Excuse my French, it's not great. I like to actually call this store the Obama Cookie Store. That is because ex-President Obama came to Ottawa one time in 2009. We bought 1 cookie and they have not shut up about it since. And they actually have a whole section of their cookies called Obama cookies, which are dedicated to Obama. This is a great little restaurant, especially if you have some picky eaters in your group. They have lots of different options, so it's great. Another couple of recommendations. I want to point out this place over here on the left, Chateau Lafayette House. Chateau Lafayette is Ottawa's oldest bar. They have live music 7 nights a week. It's completely free, no cover, and the drinks are relatively cheap. So that's a great spot to go. On the right here, we've got the Lookout Bar. This is Ottawa's main LGBTQ bar. They have drag shows most nights of the week. So if you're into that, you can check that out. And if you're into extremely overpriced but delicious cocktails, there's a new place over here called Apothecary or Starling, which is good, but a little expensive for my taste. Anyway, with that, we're gonna head through and go over onto the next street, which is called Clarence Street. All right. I like to stop here because this is a beautiful upscale paper shop, paper papier. If you want to send any notes home or something like that, it's beautiful stationery. Not cheap, but it's beautiful. Right here on our right, this is the Embassy of the United States of America. I do want to just take a moment to recognize how important the American-Canadian relationship is. America and Canada share the longest land border of any 2 countries anywhere in the world. we trade more goods back and forth and services than any two other countries anywhere in the world. And it could be argued that our cultures are more intertwined than any two other countries in the world. They have such a great embassy spot that if this embassy wasn't here, we would see Parliament perfectly right now. So that just goes to show you how important it is. It is not, you cannot go in, they do not do free tours or anything like that. The embassy is made to look like a ship. We can't see it when we're this close, but if you got a little bit further away, you can kind of see that. A bit like a ship or like a submarine. Really quickly, this is one of the weirdest statues in my beautiful, lovely city. It is supposed to represent the connection that shepherds have with their sheep. Anyway, so there's that. Behind me as well, we've got the facade of the Ottawa Tin House. There's a man actually who had a scrap metal shop and literally covered his whole house in tin to help save it from the elements, save it from weather. The house was torn down in the 60s, but the city did keep that outside facade, which was actually on his house. This street is called Sussex Drive. Sussex is where a lot of our embassies and stuff will be further down that way. The Prime Minister's house is also down Sussex Drive. It's at 24 Sussex. This is a monument for the peacekeeping movement in Canada. Canadians have been huge players in peacekeeping, especially since World War II. And this monument describes our peacekeeping process. It kind of doesn't make sense though, so I want to explain it to you. On either side, we've got the two sides of a conflict. This could be anything. It could be two different ethnic groups, it could be two different religious groups, it could be two different parts of a country, it could be anything. Two sides of a conflict. The rubble that you see it shows the destruction that conflict can cause. And then in the middle, there's a black line. That black line represents the peacekeeping process. And what I really like about the black line is that it kind of ebbs and flows. It goes a little bit to one side and then a little bit to the other, and it shows that peacekeeping is not a straight line process. On the other side of this wall, we have a list of all the peacekeeping missions that Canada's ever been a part of. Some of them have end dates and some of them don't. The ones that don't have end dates are still ongoing. So let's take a minute and look at them. You can go down that way and up, or up this way and down. So let's take a minute and look at them, and then we'll go to the last stop. Notre Basilica. I know the church kind of looks like one group of people started building it and then abandoned it and a second group finished it. The reason it looks that way is because that's exactly what happened. It started being built by a group of monks who wanted to make a neoclassical church. So you can see very classic elements, classic lines and shapes on the bottom. And it was finished by a group of monks that wanted to make a neo-Gothic church. And you can see that in the spires, much pointier sides, much more Gothic feel and appeal. The church is open to the public, not always, so I don't know if it's open today. I can't recommend going in there enough. The outside is beautiful, the inside is unbelievable. It's honestly one of the most beautiful churches I think I've been in, so check it out. They do have Sunday Mass as well, so today's Saturday, so if you guys are churchgoers, you can certainly go in tomorrow if you'd like to go to the Mass. They also, I live just a couple streets over, so I can also tell you that the bells ring every day at noon and 6. I do not know the significance of noon and 6, but I hear them every day at noon and 6, so the bells are beautiful. Anyway, check out the Notre Dame Basilica. Behind me, this is the National Art Gallery. It is Canada's largest collection of art anywhere in our country. The art gallery was opened in 1983, and I'll tell you about a couple of pieces. The first one I want to talk about is right outside the art gallery. This massive spider. It's called Mama. Mama was done by an American artist, and her mother was a weaver. Wove baskets and textiles and stuff like that in the same way that spiders are weavers. So she made the sculpture after her mother. In the middle, there are some big marble balls which represent eggs, which represent motherhood. And the coolest thing about this is that there are actually 6 identical spiders all across the world. There's one, well, I'll try. I'll see if I can remember them. There's one here in Ottawa. There's one in Seoul in South Korea. There's one in Tokyo in Japan. There's one in London, England. Oh, I'm missing one. It'll come to me, I'll tell you guys. And then the last one is a traveling one. Last I heard, the traveling one was actually in Sao Paulo, but I'm not sure if it's still there. So, anyway, those are the spiders. Another piece of art I want to tell you guys about is called The Voice of Fire. Now, this is a very controversial piece of art, The Voice of Fire. The Voice of Fire was originally made for the World Exposition that happened in Montreal in 1967 for the 100-year anniversary of Canada. And it was done by an American artist and put up at the World Expo, or Expo 67 sometimes it's called. After the World Exposition in Montreal ended, that piece of art went back to America because that's where the artist was from. When we opened the art gallery in the 80s, we decided we wanted to buy back this piece of art. So we spent $1.5 million of taxpayer money to buy this piece of art back. And it is an extravagant piece. It's very, very large. It's about 18 feet tall. I'll try and describe it to you. So it's got 3 vertical lines. It's got a blue line, a red line, and a blue line. And that is the whole painting. However, it was recently appraised in 2020, and they estimate that piece of art now is valued over $40 million. So somehow it has appreciated in value a lot. So it's called The Voice of Fire. If you're sticking around until Thursday, all of the museums in Ottawa are free on Thursdays after 5 till close. So 5 p.m. till close, which is usually at 9. All museums and art galleries are free. My favorite museum in the city is just across the river. It is called the Museum of History, sometimes called the Museum of Civilization. It is Canada's most visited museum every single year. It has lots of wonderful, beautiful exhibits. I can't recommend it enough. But you can't go wrong with any museum. There's a ton in Ottawa. The Science and Technology Museum, the Aviation Museum, Natural History Museum. So lots of different museums that you can check out. They're all free on Thursdays after 5. Or you can pay and go and visit them any day. Right across the river, that's where the province of Quebec is. The province of Quebec is Canada's largest province by size. The first referendum, which happened for Quebec to become an independent country, that happened in 1980. In that referendum, they were not successful. More people voted to stay in Canada than leave. And in 1995, they have a second referendum about if Quebec should leave and become its own country. That vote was so incredibly close. 50.1% of Quebecers voted to stay in Canada. 49.9% of Quebecers voted to leave Canada. So with that, you guys, that is the end of the tour. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for building up the tourism sector. As I mentioned at the start, nobody pays me to be here. This is a free tour for me just as much as it is for you. We do also have an online presence. If you guys want to leave me a review online, we're a small company. We've only got 4 employees. So if you guys like the tour, my name is Michael. I'm happy to stick around and give any recommendations if there's anything else I can provide. And I really hope you enjoy your stay in my lovely city. Thank you.